right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from sunny San Diego. Today, I'm delighted to be joined from Cincinnati, Ohio, in the middle of the country, by Deb Coviello. How you doing, Deb?
I'm doing fantastic. Pleasure to meet you and your audience. Hopefully, I can provide some amazing insights for you today.
Oh, without a doubt. And Deb is known as the drop-in CEO. Deb's superpower is lowering the temperature and elevating conversations with empathy and patience. She is the author of the CEO's Compass, your guide to getting back on track. And you have a new playbook coming out next year, the new CEO playbook, Stop Chasing Results, Start Pursuing Peace of Mind. Plus, you have a podcast, The Drop-In CEO, the top 1.5% globally among Apple podcasts, which is no mean achievement, believe you
Eh,
me. Anyone out
a
there
lot of hard
listening,
work.
it's a lot of
Uh,
hard,
yep.
lot of hard work. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the this concept of a compass for a CEO. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so the inspiration for the compass, it wasn't always a compass, but if you use my nerdy quality out, topics of like it's 7P assessment for getting back on track, that just doesn't resonate with CEOs. So a little bit of the back of the napkin and doodling. And I said, it's a circle. It's 7 compass points leading you to peace of mind. So the compass, I said, that's going to resonate with a C-suite leader who has a great history, a great record of doing great. And then all of a sudden something changes, the ecosystem is not the same, and all of a sudden they lose their confidence, and so
Mhm.
they need a compass, just a couple course corrections, east, west, north, south, to get them back on track. But the kicker is, it's not about just getting the results, it's getting them to true north or peace of mind. That's the inspiration behind the CEO's compass.
Yeah, and that's fascinating because I mean you're right. Having been in that position myself a couple of times, is your circumstances for a CEO or somebody who's in charge of even large departments or whatever it is. Circumstances can change very dramatically, and when what you traditionally have done isn't working anymore, you can have that crisis of confidence until you kind of regather yourself.
And another thing that I have talked about that's going to show up a lot in the next book is even when you start feeling unsettled, that something's different, you've never seen this before, and you don't know how to get back on track. The other thing I often see is leaders don't have the courage to ask for help. They
Mhm.
think in their grim that they can muscle through this crisis, this particular issue with the current resources they have, and they know they need to do something different, but they don't act on it. I've asked CEOs, it could be a matter of pride or maybe a budget, but they have to have the courage to have the foresight to go external to their ecosystem and say, I need somebody to partner with to help navigate this challenge.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, Deb, is that whether it was ever true, but it certainly isn't today because business is so complex. Everything is so complex. Uh, people are so specialized in what they do. They really need to be deep. There's no way that you can tackle as a CEO, or whatever, you can tackle everything on your own. You can't be the source of all knowledge and everything. You have to, if you're going to be successful today, is you have to reach out, you have to leverage other people, because otherwise you're going to get left behind, because it's way too complex for you to do on your own. And if you think you do it on your own, you're just fooling yourself.
I mean, we may have come up in the ranks with a specific specialty, and then we say, I'm a CEO now. I need to know everything. And it's no, you need to be
Mhm.
smart enough to know what you know and what you don't know, and have the courage to be able to bring in the right resources. So a CEO is more of a generalist. We have to
Mhm.
accept that
Yeah.
and hire really, really smart people around us to achieve their purpose.
Yeah, and I guess part of that, Dev, is sometimes is that we have to discipline ourselves just because we like something or we're good at some part of it, not to go run over there and kind of grab onto that while kind of pushing the other parts aside, just to keep ourselves like feeling good and in control.
Yeah, I mean, short-term satisfaction, long-term crash. I
Yeah.
mean, we need to recognize that, yeah, maybe we need to get tactical or understand exactly what is happening, but we need to steer the ship and stay very strategic in our work. Leaders that spend too time in the weeds because it's where they're comfortable, it's ultimately going to be their demise because they're not keeping an eye on the big picture, people focusing on the strategy and moving resources around to where we need to provide treatment. Again, another downfall of CEOs: stop being the firefighter and get the firefighters and rally the troops is a better purpose or calling for your work.
Yeah, yeah, and you have to in reality, I think if you look at it, it's a chessboard, it's a chess game. Most business, your job as a CEO is to move the chess pieces around, and and different chess pieces do different things, right? They've got different skill sets, they've got different powers, and all of that kind of thing. And that's really your job is to consistently like look at everything and rearrange the resources as needed.
Now, the other thing I also talk about is again, you hire great people, you move around the chess pieces, but a
Mhm,
true CEO's legacy is not just to properly use all those resources, but you're going to be a distant memory someday when you
mhm.
leave and the results may or may not be there. You need to leave your legacy and focus on the succession planning. Find the people's gifts, elevate them, give them the support system to develop their gifts and create the leaders of tomorrow. Holding on to stuff yourself is not your purpose, but to relinquish and set the organization for sustainable success. That's how people are going to remember you as your legacy and how you made them feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about some of the 7 steps, because 'cause I'm getting to peace of mind. There's probably a lot of people who are going to watch or listen to this who maybe are in positions, like CEO or positions of authority, who are thinking, "Peace of mind? I'm never gonna get to peace of mind. Come on."
Well, you can't get there unless you can define it. So, what does peace of mind look like? I'll start
Mhm,
from there. From a personal perspective, if you happen to have nieces, nephews, or children of your own, and you spend a lot of time parenting them and teaching them the ways, when you see them walk across the threshold to get their diploma, or they partner with somebody that's going to be their life partner through life, you can step back as a parent or a leader and have that peace of mind. Say, I've done everything I can to set them up for success, and you see joy in their eyes and moving out and being productive citizens, that's peace of mind from a personal perspective. On a business perspective, I had an issue with a particular organization and we were got in trouble by the customer. So in retrospect, we tried to create training videos to avoid those same issues in the future. And when one of our key operators came into the video training and we says, do you want to actually do the training rather than the supervisor? When that operator was on camera and be able to articulate exactly what they were doing, why they were doing it, and the impact to the customer if we didn't do it right, immediately I had peace of mind. And I got goosebumps because this person who was the last line of defense close to your customer knew exactly what to do and why. We knew our job was done when we had that level of connectivity. That's an example of peace of mind, both on the business and personal. If you've never experienced it, that's a problem. But if you know what peace of mind feels like, then these leaders need to stop being short term focused on results and close the gaps on people's performance
mhm,
towards a purpose, leading indicators of are they trained? Do they have the capability and the capacity? Focusing on the people development. Again, that's just one
mhm.
compass point. You're going to get to peace of mind because you'll unleash the potential.
Yeah, and on the people and on the people front and getting there, there's a trap that so many people fall into, and we're almost hardwired this way as human beings. But we're always trying to fix the things that we perceive are wrong, right? We're always so we look at Deb and Deb's great at all these things, and we go, yeah, Deb's great at all those things, but there's things over here that she's not very good at, and we need to focus in and get improved instead of going, Deb's great at these things over here. We need to make sure that we do more of that. That she gets the opportunity to grow and that part, and we need to figure out where to shove all this other stuff or get somebody else who's going to do that. But we always focus in the wrong place.
Yeah, so again, that's strengths versus weaknesses. We got to fix people, but if you
Mm,
focus on their strengths, you unleash their potential. I
yeah.
had a client once where we had a great production leader, but they weren't good in all the administrative stuff and the things that were more proactive. But they were the captain, boots on the ground. They got stuff done. Well, rather than replacing that person and trying to train them up and teach them new skills, the leadership had the understanding, why don't we enrich the ecosystem around this
Mhm.
person and bring in some talent that was better in the areas where they were weak. Well, I'll tell you the combined effort of that subject matter expert who had longevity, along with some newer bucks in the organization. Oh my, they are growing by leaps and bounds, building a new facility. Focus on their strengths. You're going to get so much more and bring in talent to supplement where they may not be as strong.
Yeah, and then there's again sort of on the same theme. we're great at highlighting when something goes wrong. We're great at catching a mistake. We're great at that. We're terrible often at catching people doing things right and making sure that we acknowledge or we recognize that. And again, it's this weird human nature thing. Is like suddenly there's an issue, we're on top of it immediately. Oh, damn! There's this thing we need to. But Deb does something fantastic. I skate by, forget to even acknowledge it.
Yeah, so if I could just address that topic
Yeah.
because one of my specialties is deep listening and root cause analysis, if you want to get a little nerdy on that. And one of the things people are quick to have the quick fix, let's retrain the person, let's reprimand them, etc. When we don't, as leaders, focus on two additional things. Focus on the system. It's like whack-a-mole, fix it
Mhm.
today, but it's going to show up again tomorrow. We as leaders need to look at what are the conditions that exist that on that particular day, that particular person who always does a good job made a mistake, and then what are the management systems that enable those conditions to even exist? Those are the hard conversations. Those are the 800-pound gorillas in the room. We go at why did we not even have a robust training program and put people on the floor only when they're completely competent? That's where we should focus our efforts, not the individual.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point, and then from this, a lot of this has to do with the CEO having the confidence in themselves to reach out, as you said, to ask for help, to maybe offload some of the things that are on their desk. So how do you help CEOs get to that point where they feel okay, I can let, because letting go can be hard for some people.
So, in my particular situation, it's becoming a partner, not a threat, not an expensive cost center as a
Mhm.
consultant or the drop
Right.
in CEO. I never go for the sale. I seek to understand that person. Where are they starting from and where did they lose their confidence along the way? Be empathetic, understand, look at their gifts, shine a light on their gifts. And I just find by building deep relationships with these people that are starting to feel uncomfortable, you become top of mind when the next issue comes up. So it's because maybe they just don't have that network that they can speak to be
Mhm.
able to say, you know what, I think I will move first forward versus let me bear with it another day. So having trusted people in your network that you can talk to may be what people need to overcome any issues they may have with confidence.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in coaching, and I've used coaches myself in the past. One of the best decisions I ever made was
Yeah.
the first time I became a member of an executive team, my first vice president, senior team, all of that. First thing I did was hire a coach, and in fact, just out of interest for you, when I was working with the coach and saying, "Oh," and they were saying, "What do you want to?" I said, "I want to be the best VP. I want to this, blah blah blah." And she goes, "Well, why don't you want to be the CEO?" And I was like, well, I didn't think of that, but yeah, I'd love to be. And she says, well, let's focus on that. And a couple of years later, I'm CEO of two different companies. So there you go. That's the power of coaching.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I ever needed a coach, or maybe they weren't in my life. But since being out on my own in business, I love having a coach because they can shine a light on what you can't see. And a quick story, my husband once said to me, you could be a CEO or a plant manager. And I said, no, I can't. No, I can't. And, the funny thing is now I'm a business owner, I'm a founder, I am CEO of my own
Mhm.
destiny. We need other people in our ecosystem to be able to say, yes, you can when you can't see it yourself.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is you can have friends, you can have spouses, family members, you can have other people. But they all kind of bring something to the table. They all bring a little bit of their own baggage to the table and their own point of view. But the coach is the person who their only objective is to make you succeed. And
Yeah.
that's such a perfect, that's a great thing, and that way you can talk about anything really.
Yeah. So again, I hire coaches. People hire me to be their drop in CEO and partner. I will say, when I do drop in and I work with leaders that have the confidence to ask for help, it's not just about fixing the business issue, but while I am there, I am understanding that CEO and helping them to develop and have the courage to move forward as well as elevating their team. So I may not necessarily do coaching as an a la carte on the side. I think
Mhm,
with any business issue, every leader has the opportunity to grow from maybe misfortune or a tremendous opportunity.
mhm. And one of the other things I think, Deb, that's really challenging a lot of CEOs today is the nature of work has changed so dramatically. I mean, it was changing pre-COVID, but COVID obviously changed it again. And now you have these organizations where you may have some people in physical offices, you may have some people in physical offices part time, you may have remote people, you may have long term contractors who are spread across the world. You may have this organization with all these different audiences in different places, different circumstances. And I know today there are a lot of people struggling with, how do I affect an organization? How do I manage the culture? How do I keep, and how do I communicate effectively when we've got such a dispersed organization?
So, my response to that, while all of that logistics is truth, that we're physically separated, I would beg to differ that even when we were all live in an office, was that disconnection or disengagement already there? I think
Mhm.
it's just a smokescreen and an excuse that if you didn't have the right culture to show people you care, focus on their personal development, know something about the people, the fact that people went remote and further became disengaged in that workforce, they were only seeing the tip of the iceberg, and it fully manifested itself when we become physically separated. A truly great culture transcends any kind of barrier, whether you're physically in the office or 13 hours away in
Mhm.
Singapore. People will love and stay with great cultures, regardless of the physical or virtual separation.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and I would agree with you. And I think that's part of the problem. It's a perception thing too. It's like everything was easier when I had everybody together, but yeah, I mean, it's, as we know, you can be just as lonely and isolated in an office full of people as you
Yeah.
can be sitting in your home office. You just mentioned something there about culture, and I think that's the other part that. Most organizations, to be honest, I've come across, the culture has, it's something that has evolved or has just organically grown, normally from the CEO, normally with not a lot of thought going into it. Maybe they've had a few bumper stickers on their website about their culture, but generally speaking, it's just really just taken from the CEO over the years. That's what the culture is. Uh, but what's the difference when you start to look at culture and say, okay, I'm going to really, I need an organ, I need to understand what our culture is, I need to define what it should be and how it should be manifest?
So these are fantastic questions. And as I think through this in culture, where I've seen bad culture and good culture, um, it is not what is on the walls or those phrases, PowerPoints, or
Mhm.
slogans. Culture, I see and feel, is when an operator, I come from a manufacturing environment, and
Mhm.
when you approach an operator or technician and they look you in the eye, when the supervisor comes into the area and they make a gesture to each other, acknowledging each other's humanity, it's in the way people act and how we make people feel and show people that they're appreciated and we support them where they need. Culture kind of comes organically from the center, and it is nicely tied together if then what we say from the top, middle, or bottom up is congruent. So,
Mhm.
yes, the CEO has to set the tone, but culture only comes from based on what you see within. And that could have come from great operators. It could have come from a great supervisor. It's a matter of the CEO then supporting what works for the organization. But connecting with humanity in whatever way that's possible, acknowledgement in our words, that's how great cultures come. And it does have to be fostered by the CEO. We need to have time for human connection.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely, absolutely. And so, what would be your one piece of advice to CEOs going into 2025, maybe who are starting to, for the first time, maybe starting to feel a little uncomfortable, maybe that, as I said, that things have developed or so rapidly, and there's so much uncertainty there, both just in the world as in the markets and everything. What would your one piece of advice be to them?
Okay, so I'm gonna say pause and reflect, and the funny thing, the ironic thing is I just did a solo LinkedIn Live today, and it was called "A Season of Mixed Emotions," because I think leaders at the end of the year need to pause and reflect and acknowledge what gave them great joy during the year and savor that. Don't look back on what didn't get done, but also look at where they're sad. Connect with that emotion where maybe they did not achieve those desired results. Again, it's a source of strength, taking a bit of time to reflect. When CEOs just continue to go, 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 and don't take that personal time, how can they possibly lead? To reflect on what went well and learn from what didn't. Pause and reflect is my advice.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the fact that you said, obviously reflect on the good things or whatever, but also embrace the things that make you sad, because that's not something that you would normally hear somebody say. Oh, CEO sitting in there and he's sad because this. But that's a natural human emotion, and to your point, I think sometimes we feel like we have to move away from natural human emotion because we're in this position.
No, I mean, I've had so many guests on my podcast. We are in a chemical or electrical system, and our mind is connected to our hearts, all the chemistry in our body. And when we feel a sense of sadness, that is connecting with your soul. And I know I'm
Mhm.
going a little woo woo on you,
No,
but
no.
all of that then connects back to the intellect. Acknowledge the emotions versus suppressing them, and then have whatever mechanisms you have to say, what can I learn or what can I leverage? All of this is a positive when we take the moment to reflect on the joy and the sadness that we're experiencing.
I 100% agree. I'm a big believer in mind body, and sometimes your mind will tell you, sometimes your body will tell you, and sometimes they both will. But certainly, if you ignore the physiological, the stuff that's going on inside you, how it's manifesting itself in your body, you're missing out on a lot of information.
No, and I so believe that. I mean, I'm on a journey right now. If we don't slow down, we're gonna wear out these bodies and we're gonna burn out. And what good are we as leaders to the rest of our organization?
Yeah, and by the way, that is the one of the themes that continually comes up as I'm talking to people is burnout, and I think for the this is burnout's obviously not a recent phenomenon. People have been burning out forever, but I feel like there's more recognition of it now. People are starting to realize that how the impact of burnout on not just on themselves but on their whole ecosystem.
And again, just to tie it up a little bit, is when leaders are focused just on results, we may get results for a quarter or two. And then when we don't get the results, we beat people into submission to get the results, high five. And at the end of it is collateral damage, and people leave the organization or experience burnout. When we focus on peace of mind, we close people's gaps in what they're capable of doing. They feel a greater purpose, and who knows what they can achieve. And it will be sustainable progress when you get to peace of mind.
Yeah. Well, listen, Deb, this has been fantastic, and I love the fact that we end the year with the peace of mind as a theme in one of these interviews. I love that. Something I think just take those two words away with you. Or three words. And lucky I'm not in accounting. So there's the three words: peace of mind. But reflect on it, because I think that it's a great time of year to do it and set you up for next year. So listen, thank you, Deb, for all those insights. All of Deb's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do tell people a little bit more about the work you do.
Oh, okay. Well, I partner with C suite leaders to navigate challenges with confidence, primarily in the manufacturing space, helping them through some kind of crisis or transformation. I am the drop in CEO, but I am truly a partner. I help you get to peace of mind. I can drop into any situation and help you through to the other side. So, a little bit about me, but look forward to catching up with people after the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I totally encourage you to go check out Deb and her work. And those three words, peace of mind, keep that at the forefront as you head into 2025. So thanks again, Deb. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.